Hi guys! So like a lot of you I expect, I have a bookish wish list that I save books to online so that I know various different old and new releases that I'm interested in picking up. It means if I'm ever online or out and about book shopping, I have a sort of reference for all of the amazing recommendations I've got from book blogs, Bookstagram, Booktube and in the comments of my own videos. And like many of you, this list is ridiculously long. You know, I've been keeping this list for years now, ever since I've been on Booktube, and I realised that you could keep a bookish wish list online, and it has just grown and grown and grown, and I have certainly picked up books from that list and reduced it, but then brought it back up over the years. So I thought perhaps a fun new little series to start on my channel would be to talk about the 10 books that are kind of top of my wish list at the moment, you know, top priority, that I have discovered or been reminded of recently, and I'm debating whether to pick up or not, and ask you which one of those 10 you think I should prioritise. I can't buy every book on my wish list, it's impossible. I probably never read every book I ever put on my wish list, that's also probably impossible. But I can hopefully pick up the ones that I will enjoy the most and that you would like to see reviews of the most with your help. So without further ado, I'm going to let you know the 10 books currently at the top of my wish list, and you can let me know which one you think I should pick up. So first is quite a recent release that I've been seeing everywhere, and that is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This is a contemporary romance novel, which is something that I usually shy away from. I'm not a massive contemporary reader, but I have been trying to widen my horizons when it comes to contemporary and romance books. So I'm on the hunt for some good ones, and this one sounds excellent. I've also been hearing really great reviews of it. It's set in London, and it's about a girl that's recently gotten out of a relationship and is looking for somewhere to stay quite imminently, and if you've ever had the experience of flat hunting in London, you'll know how difficult it is. So I can definitely already sympathise with the character for needing somewhere to live and also having gone through a breakup, although I've never experienced both of those things in tandem. And she ends up in a pretty weird situation, probably one that is not that advisable, but we're going to suspend our disbelief for the sake of fiction. And she ends up sharing a one-bed flat with a guy who is a nurse, and he works night shifts while she works day shifts at a publishing house, and they share the flat, as in one person sleeps in the bed when the other person's at work. And because of this living situation, they don't actually meet one another for a really long time. They're only communicating through notes that they leave one another in this shared flat. But naturally, they fall in love, and I think it does sound like a really interesting story, so that's definitely one that I'm considering picking up. Something on the complete opposite end of the spectrum is 6 by 10 Stories from Solitary. This is a non-fiction compilation of different voices, different prisoners who have experienced solitary confinement whilst in prison, and what that experience was like for them. I think the whole judicial and incarceration system, both in the US and the UK, is something that requires radical change, and I thought that this book sounded like a really interesting perspective on what it is like to be a prisoner, and some of the specific things that happen to prisoners from first-hand voices, and a variety of voices at that. It's published by one of my favourite publishers, which is Haymarket Books, and it is specifically about prisons in the United States. I think it will be incredibly hard-hitting but an important read, so it's one that I very much had my eye on since it was released. Now the next book is actually a bind-up of 3 not recent releases, as in books that have been out for quite some time, and that is The Modern Fairy Tales by Holly Black. So like I said, this is a bind-up. I think it's a trilogy of young adult novels set between our world and the world of the Fae. The books predate her more recent Fae series, which begins with The Cruel Prince, but like I said, have recently been brought up in a bind-up, probably because of the popularity of that new series, and I am very much enjoying that series. I cannot wait for the 3rd and final installment, so I thought it might be worth checking out these original Fae novels by Holly Black, because I might also enjoy them, and I would love to hear from somebody who has read them and has read perhaps Holly Black's other Fae books. I have read one other book she wrote that is set between our world and the world of the Fae, which was a standalone, and also enjoyed that. So I think generally speaking I like her style, when it comes to this type of book, and I'll probably enjoy that original trilogy, and it's nice that it's now available in this bind up, which has a stunning cover. But my interest in this one is purely based on my experience with her other books. We then have a graphic novel. This one is a children's middle grade graphic novel, and it is The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. I recently borrowed one of Katie O'Neill's other middle grade graphic novels from my library, which was called Aquacorn Cove, and it was incredibly adorable. Plus, this one's about dragons, and we all know how much Jean loves dragons. Jean loves dragons so much that it's caused her to talk about herself in the third person. That's how much I love dragons. So I've been seeing this graphic novel cropping up on BookTube for quite some time now since it was first released. It now has a sequel. I know I love Katie O'Neill's drawing and art style as well as the tone of her work. So to be honest, I'm kind of surprised I haven't picked it up yet. But since graphic novels can be a little bit more on the pricey side, I thought it would be interesting to hear from those of you that have also read it or are maybe interested in reading it. Plot-wise, I don't know a terrible amount about what's going on other than it's aimed at children. It has dragons, tiny dragons that go to tea parties, and that's kind of enough. So next is a book that is not a new release, but I only learned about it recently, and that is Ode to the Queen by Kylie Castronaro. So I keep a list on my blog of Greek and Roman myth retellings. I regularly update as new ones come out, and I learn about ones that were published, say, a few years ago. You can check that list out if you're interested. I'll link it down below. But one that I recently discovered in one of my searches of the internet was this, which is the first in a series of modern Greek myth retellings where women from the 21st century end up in the world of Greek mythology. So in this book, Savannah is a college student who has applied for an exchange trip to go to Greece, but it turns out she didn't read the small print and she is stuck in Mount Olympus hanging out with all of the gods and goddesses. It sounds kind of wacky. It's also a new adult series, so I imagine romance is a large part of it. But I love reading different types of Greek and Roman reception literature, shall we call it. So it is one that I'm interested in checking out since I learnt about it. One that I am actually interested in because of a specific recommendation is The Bone Witch by Rin Shupeko. And this one made it to my wish list because of Amanda over at the Naughty Librarian. She loves this book and she's often bringing up the series in her videos and recommending it to her viewers. It's a dark fantasy where our protagonist discovers that her gift is actually for necromancy, which sets her apart from the rest of her family who are witches but do not have an affinity for such like a dark and suspicious gift, or at least that's the way it's perceived by society. So when she accidentally resurrects her brother, people aren't actually very excited about this, and instead she's ostracized from her community, and it is all about her, I imagine, coming to terms with this gift, and there'll probably be some fantastic fantasy plot arc where she has to save the day. That's what usually happens in fantasy novels, and I am always here for it. Whilst we're on the topic of dark novels though, I also wanted to mention Wakenhurst by Michelle Paver. It's a novel I've been toying with picking up quite a lot recently. It's set in the fens of Edwardian Suffolk. I believe it's been described as a gothic thriller, and it follows Maud, whose family has various secrets they've been hiding from her, particularly her father, and those begin to unravel when she discovers a portrait of a demon or the devil in a graveyard one day, and yeah, mysteries start to unravel, and it sounds dark and intriguing, and I love dark and intriguing historical novels in particular, so I think I might like this one. I then have one that is a very recent addition to my wish list because it was recommended to me by a subscriber, and that is A Study in Scarlet Women by Sherry Thomas. Now some of you might recognise where this book is going from the title. It is actually a Sherlock Holmes retelling. It's set during the time of the original Sherlock Holmes novels by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which again we all know I love, but in these novels Sherlock Holmes is actually a woman in disguise. So instead of a man, Sherlock Holmes is a woman who has disguised herself as a man so that she can get involved with solving mysteries, which sounds brilliant. Like, how had I not heard of these books before? So A Study in Scarlet Women is the first in this series, and I would definitely be interested in seeing how it plays with the original stories and what new twists it has to offer. But I then have two more contemporary romances. I know, a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but like I said, I'm trying to try new things. So I've added some of the ones I've heard recommended quite a lot recently on different channels I trust to my wish list in the hopes of checking some of them out and seeing what I think. So the next one is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This one is about a maid of honour and a best man who are the only two people at a wedding not to get food poisoning, including the bride and groom, who then gift their honeymoon to their best friends, who have of course been their maid of honour and their best man, because they can't go on it anymore and it's non-refundable, and they think, hey, free holiday, but they actually hate each other. So supposedly the best man and the maid of honour hate each other, but they think, we'll go on the holiday, we don't have to hang out. Naturally, however, I believe they fall in love with one another while they're there because this is a romance novel. Someone also recently mentioned to me that maybe the protagonist is curvy rep. So if that's correct, please confirm for me down below, because that's definitely something I'm on the hunt for when it comes to checking out romance. And then I also am interested in checking out Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. Tessa Bailey is a contemporary romance author that I hear everyone rave about. Like, anybody I watch, particularly Chelsea, who talks about romance, loves Tessa Bailey, and this is her newest release, I think. Loads of people have been enjoying it and praising it on BookTube, so naturally I added it to my wish list. This one is fake dating. I have learned so much recently about the different tropes in romance from watching people's videos about romance books. It's been an educational experience, but this one is the fake dating trope, which means that I think the protagonist starts a fake relationship with her brother's best friend because nobody really sees her as a sexual being. Nobody thinks of her as being particularly sexy. She's like the clumsy, kind of weird woman. She makes her living as a clown, so that is part and parcel of this image that people conceive of her, and presumably she wants to change this image, so she asks her brother's best friend if he will pretend to be dating her because he's got more of the reputation as being quite like a roguish, handsome, sexy young man that might give her more street cred. I don't know, like, do romance books entirely make sense? In my experience, not so much, but they're still a lot of fun. So this one, again, on my wish list. Let me know if you think I should pick it up. But those are the 10 books at the top of my wish list at the moment. Naturally, I can't just go around picking up 10 books willy-nilly, so let me know which ones you think I should prioritise. If there's one that you would like to see me review, or one that you think I'd really like, I would love, love, love to hear from you. And I'd also love to know if you enjoyed this little video concept and whether you'd like to see more of these in the future. But until next time, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye guys!